Hi, welcome to another recap of a year in the life of growing a dividend account. I know it's been a while since the last recap, so I'll kind of do a speed run through the last, I don't know, 5 or so weeks. Um, and then at the end, as usual, I will show you the overall account balance. So again, if you're new here, this account basically consists of three parts. Uh, every week, I put 100 into CGDV and DIVB. I also, on occasion, will sell options. With the cash in the account, it's been mostly or almost all NVIDIA year to date, which has done well. And then the cash in the account also earns interest in the money market. So can have three incomes. For buying, I basically just kind of buy the ETFs that I mentioned before, the two ETFs, and then for income, there's stock and ETF dividends. There is interest from the money market account, and there is um, option selling. All right, so again, usually every week I kind of go over the buys, the trades, the sells. But given that again, it's been about a few weeks, I'll kind of just do a speed run. For the ETFs, I will just pop open one of the buys every week, just so you can kind of get an idea of what the price history has been. So let's kind of go from the bottom. So CGDV, let's pop that open. So you can see about it was like 36.98 on this buy, and DivB 48.58. End of the month got $61.60 in interest from SPACs. Okay, so moving on to June. Okay, so you see CGDV was about 37 and 10 on the second beginning of the month. DivB 48 38. So you can see price is higher than the end of May. So I mean, if you're reading this now, obviously you're hearing this now, you know that the market has been up. So probably no surprise that the prices are going to kind of look higher and higher as we get closer to July. Also on the second, had an expired put of an NVIDIA. So an expired just means that the cash is now free to use as I please. So again, no actual change to the account balance, just free cash. Then on the fourth, got a JEPQ dividend. This is certainly the biggest dividend payout to date. I think definitely again being a covered call ETF, I think all the volatility post tariffs definitely helped that. And then again, like all dividends, they are reinvested. So that $77.63 got us about almost 1.5 shares. So definitely the highest so far in, I don't know, the year and a half I've had, the year or so I've had JEPQ. So 1.482. And again, I'm not putting any new money into JEPQ this year. So um, this is all just dripping and kind of riding the wave. So it's not a bad payday for essentially doing nothing. Okay, but that's the the benefit of dividends. Then moving up. So the next week, 38.13 for DIVB, sorry, CGDV, and DIVB was 49.37. So again, like prices are going up every week, but that's okay. That's, in the long run, that's what we want. Um, we're getting dividends and we're getting NAV, share price appreciation. All right, so then we have Microsoft dividend again, like pretty small, obviously. So that bought us reinvested, point oh oh seven shares, 007. Very James Bondish. So again, it's not a lot, but the point of dividends is that it compounds over time. So the way I look at it is that at the end of June 12th, we have point oh oh 0.007 more shares than we had at the beginning of June 12th. Or the day before. So that's what we're doing. We're building slowly but surely. Okay. Moving to the 16th now. So pop open CGDV. You see 38.72 again. Prices are going up. DivB 49.36. Then we received our DivB dividend for Q2 of $14.04. So if I pop that up to see what the reinvestment was, got about 0.285 shares. Again, it may not look like much, but remember that this is double the first dividend that we got in Q1. So we about double the shares. We started buying this ETFs at the beginning of January. So with about I don't know, 10 or 11 weeks when we got our first dividend. Now we have kind of double the weeks, double the dividend. So as I said, in the previous video, from here on out, for the rest of the year, every dividend is going to get larger and larger. Every payout is going to get larger and larger. So even if the price, the dividend per share stays the same or even goes down marginally, because we're buying shares every week, the total payout, this total payout is going to become bigger and bigger. So, in Q3, it might be $21. In Q4, it might be $28, right? As we're seeing with JEPQ, at some point you can kind of turn it off, stop buying shares, and you're still getting a good amount of shares per dividend, even if you're not putting new money into the account or the ETF. All right, so 23rd of June, I see 38.30. I think I might have slipped back a bit. Div B 49.17. All right, and then I think we have another week. So guys, go through the end of June. All right. So for June, let's see what we have. So we have 39.47. So again, this was actually a big week. It was at 38 something the previous week. Now we're at 39.47 for CGDV, and for DivB, So you can see we're now above 50. So previously when we've put in our buy, it's been about 2 point something shares because the share price has been under 50. Now with the share price above 50, we're getting slightly less than 2 shares a buy. But again, over the long run, that's what we want and expect from dollar cost averaging. As the price goes up, we get less shares. Where the price were to dip, as it did in April, then we're buying more shares on the dips, and then we're kind of riding that extra accumulation when the share price recovers. Okay, so that is the two ETFs. And then at the end we have some nice divvies and payouts. So we have SPACs once again, our interest, so 57.21. And again, from like a long, range view, we expect this to decrease as again we're putting 200 into the ETFs every week. So the amount of cash we have, you can kind of see here, the amount of cash we have is slowly going down. And we haven't been, as you can see, we haven't been really selling options to generate additional income, which kind of offset the cash flow a little bit. Um, but that's all good. So 57.21, and then we have our Q2 SCHD dividend of 81.52, which got us just over about almost 3.1, so 3.085 shares. So again, June 29th to June 30th, we now have three and change more shares than we had the day before. And again, this is without putting any money into the account for this year. So if you kind of do the math, 3 times 4, four dividend payouts, that's 12 more shares we'll have at the end of the year than we had at the beginning of the year. So again, that's the power, the power of not just the dividend, but reinvesting the dividend. Okay? So that kind of wraps up the all the activity since the last recap. So again, in a nutshell, just buying the ETFs, we're seeing share price go up. We're getting interest from SPACs. We're getting dividends from the various ETFs. So overall, doing very it's been a choppy year for sure. But overall, things are green, and I think I would say kind of moving in a good direction. So looking at the overall account year to date, which is basically we're halfway throughout the year plus 1 day. We'll start at the top. SPACs. Again, that's said before. It's pretty much only going to go down over time. I would say the good thing, if you look so far, so we've put in about 5,200 right into the new ETFs, DIVB and CGDV, but SPACs is only down, about 3,600. That's again because of the interest earned every month on SPACs and the option selling that has been done since the start of the year as well, has helped offset some of the cash used to buy DIVB and CGDV. SCHD back to positive territory. I think it's definitely kind of struggled a bit, especially compared to some other dividend options. I think certainly the last dividend kind of helped it push it into positive territory, but that's kind of where it is so far, a little under 1%. JEPQ kind of came down a little bit, so that's just about 1%, 1.2. So in terms of head to head, not putting money into either, which is what which would do the best. So far the answer is JEPQ in terms of percent gain. Okay. And we look at FNLIX, can't speak. So that is again kind of large cap, but kind of follows the SPY pretty closely. That's at a little over 6%. So I mean handily beating uh, you know SCHD and JEPQ. Then we have Apple and Microsoft, the two stocks. Again, kind of doing their inverse growth thing. So just rounding. Apple down 17% year to date, Microsoft up 17% year to date. So kind of an interesting kind of split between those two. Definitely a tale of two stocks, for sure. Let me go to the new ETFs. So both definitely in positive territory. So again, they've about 2,600 has been put into both. So you can see they're both well above that mark. But clearly, in terms of head to head, CGDV clearly beginning to kind of run away and create some distance between itself and DIVB for the title of top new performer year to date. Right, and as I mentioned before, as you can see, as more and more money flows into these two, the percent of account gets higher and higher. So they're almost double, definitely double what Apple is. They're eventually become double what Microsoft is, and if you keep going, they can certainly catch up to FNI LX, by the end of the year. Okay, so where does that all leave us? That leaves us with what is, at least for at least going by Tuesdays, um, uh, a high for the year. It might be an all-time high, but definitely a high for the year of $47,277.37. So you saw have a drawdown in April, and then kind of a quick recovery. So again, that's the kind of power of staying steadfast, dollar cost averaging, don't panic. And here we are at highs for the year. Of course, next week can bring anything, but for right now, we're sitting in a good spot. Year to date, that's up 2,486.74, and growth of 5.55%. So overall, I think definitely below SPY. Um, so that's why if someone just wants to kind of put it into a set it and forget it, S&P 500 fund, I will never, squash that idea. If that's what they want to do, um, because there are obviously benefits to that. So, here's where we are so far. So, my take is, I think definitely, Apple is definitely bringing down the overall portfolio, but everything, SCHD, JEPQ haven't done great, obviously, but overall, pretty solid, right? So I think, we have knew there would be a lot of volatility. We're not putting any new money into the account, so we are growing off of kind of purely at what's kind of been in the account and just moving cash moving existing cash into buying, new ETFs. So I'll say overall solid first half of the year. Second half, I think will be pretty interesting as well. In terms of execution, again, no change in plan. $100 into DIVB and CGDV every week. Let everything else drip, and on occasion, if it makes sense to sell some options. I didn't sell any in June just because I just didn't see anything I liked. Nvidia kind of obviously ran up in price, and it got a little bit too high for kind of my budget and what I want to do with the account. So we'll kind of look for some other options. But again, the key is to not force anything. If it's there, it's there. Feel good about it, execute. But if not, rule number one, don't lose money. So, and rule number two, seed rule number one. So overall in good shape. Hope your accounts are looking healthy, and I'll see you on the next one.